Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for our webinar. We have Jarrett DiMarzio and Cornerstone Wealth, Jeff Carbone. We're going to be talking about the top 6 emotional considerations for retirement today. We're going to go ahead and get started in just a few moments.
Well, hello and welcome. Hope everyone had a great Memorial Day holiday. Hope you're all doing well, had a nice weekend. I'm Jarrett DiMarzio of Cornerstone Wealth Advisor, and joining me today is Senior Partner Jeff Carbone.
Thanks, Jarrett. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone had a great Memorial Day as we understand and go over the sacrifices everybody made for our freedom. So all those that lost their lives for our freedoms, we thank them. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Today we're talking about a little bit different topic. A few weeks ago, John Brown and Mark Thornburg talked about the top 6 financial considerations for retirement. Today we're talking about the top 6 emotional considerations for retirement. Jeff and I are not psychologists. We don't pretend to be, don't play any on television, but this is definitely a behavioral finance and psychology type topic. So we hope you enjoy it. Top 6 emotional considerations for retirement are tools to mentally and emotionally prepare you for the next chapter. So if you don't know us, you don't know Cornerstone Wealth, let's introduce ourselves. So who is Cornerstone Wealth? Cornerstone Wealth is a wealth management and financial planning firm. We're an RIA, or a registered investment advisory firm. That means that we act as a fiduciary, always acting in your best interest. At Cornerstone, we value the 4 C's of Cornerstone, and they are collaborative, curious, caring, and committed. We hope that you see these traits as we get into this topic. So Jeff, why don't you take us through the introduction. Actually, I'll say a few more words and then I'll get into number 1. So, years before your retirement, you're planning, you're making financial decisions, you're thinking about, do I have enough money? Is my financial plan secure? Have I done enough work to prepare for retirement? But during this period, you'll also be required to make emotional decisions. Many of us in our career defined us. It was what we did all day, every day. It was our source of passion and purpose. We had routine. It provided us with value. Well, as you enter into retirement, you realize that some of that value in that consideration, it's not quite there anymore. So we make a lot of emotional decisions leading up to retirement, and these things can leave us feel daunting as we leave work behind. Well, at Cornerstone, we've had the privilege of helping countless clients make the successful move into retirement. So Jeff and I are going to share some of these observations and some of our experience with you that we've gathered over the years. All right, Jeff, take us into number 1.
Thanks, Jarrett. So I'm going to actually start off with a little yogiism. And if folks are not aware, I am a Yankee fan through and through, grew up in New York, love my New York Yankees. Excited to hear about possibility of sports in general coming back. I know we've got a lot that we're dealing with during this pandemic, but so I've got a yogiism to start. You've got to be careful if you don't know where you're going, because you might not get there. So I thought that was appropriate because, number 1, it's all about planning. And the most important factor emotionally being prepared for retirement is, of course, your financial plan. There's been a lot of statistics taken. Around 59% of Americans find retirement to be a pretty stressful time, and it makes sense. We've saved all our lives. The stresses of uncertainty start to come about. The stress of, did I choose the right investment strategy? Will I have enough money to last the rest of my life? What will happen if we go through a market downturn or a recession or a pandemic, etc. So it's being prepared and having that game plan laid out. The first thing as advisors, what we're doing, we are discussing and going over your financial, but it's the emotional side. So we remind clients all the time that it's the resources that you've accumulated what should afford you a very comfortable retirement. What we're trying to do as advisors is really determine the best strategies and resources to make it ideal and become reality. By doing so, it's to create that stress-free retirement. We have to hope for the best, but we need to prepare for the worst. We have to prepare for those downturns, recession that I mentioned. They will happen, and they could happen a few times during our retirement. But the earlier they start, we're able to weather those financial storms that occur by having a well laid out strategy. It really helps protect against those worst case scenarios. And hopefully by doing so, what we're able to do is kind of check off those lists of worries that we create and make a much shorter list so we can focus on the most important part of retirement, and that's your enjoyment and your happiness. So Jarrett, I'm going to now switch it back to you, and we go for the second biggest concern of one's emotional retirement.
So yeah, thanks, Jeff. So like the yogiism, I should have known that you were going to go for the Yankees play there. Certainly looking forward to baseball starting back up. All right, number 2, live with a purpose. As I mentioned before, our careers provided us with purpose. They were part of our routine every day. We went to work, we worked with a team, worked with others, we added value. It gave us a purpose. So in retirement, it's not uncommon that you feel a lack of purpose. What is my duty? What is my job? What do I do? And I'm sure many of you are sitting there thinking, nothing. I don't want to do anything. But we have gathered some observations from our experience and have found that there are several things that folks do in retirement that give them a value and give them purpose. So number 1, volunteer. No surprise, you've undoubtedly done some volunteer work over your lifetime and found value there, found gratitude. It's fulfilling. So we encourage you, find an organization, find something that brings you a value and purpose. Spend some time and volunteer. Number 2, take or even teach a class. Is there something that you'd like to learn, or maybe something that you know how to do well and others would benefit from it? Number 3, learn a new skill. I have a brother-in-law who's a carpenter, does woodworking, and he finds significant value and purpose there, even makes some extra money on the side. Is there something that you'd like to do in retirement to help you learn a new skill? Number 4, make a bucket list. Constantly adding things to my bucket list. Want to see the Grand Canyon. I haven't seen many states in our own country, let alone in other countries. So make a bucket list. Start crossing it off. Write it down. Number 5, travel. Maybe not today, but I'm sure within a few months, within a year, we'll all be traveling on airplanes, going to different destinations. Many folks in retirement are looking forward to travel. Next is start a new hobby. If you have been an avid golf player your whole life, but haven't figured out how to break that 20 handicap like myself, I wouldn't call myself avid, but how do I get below a 10 handicap? You certainly should have a little extra time to work on your hobbies. And last but not least, a common theme in our presentation, stay active and physically fit. We encourage you to stay healthy, stay happy, and enjoy your retirement. All right, Jeff, take us into number 3.
All right. So number 3, I'm going to continue with my yogiisms, Jarrett, and I'm going to start with a nickel ain't worth a dime anymore. So number 3 is understanding the difference between wealthy and rich. And they're often used interchangeably, but there is a really big difference between rich and being wealthy. Both have money and have significant amount of money, but only the latter, and that's be the wealthy, have sustainable wealth, meaning the money's going to last for not just one generation, but multiple generations, hopefully. Basically, in other words, really families who they have always been wealthy, but rich, rich is that flash in the pan. And you can see, I've been using my yogiisms today, so I'm going to stay with athletes. We hear a lot of athletes that go broke because, again, it's immediate, right? It's not a lasting. Your wealth is a lasting for multiple generations. Studies, unfortunately, have shown that usually about 70% of the families who pass on wealth, that wealth by the second generation will be gone. Even more unfortunate, by the third generation, 90% of that wealth is deteriorated or totally lost. Our goal is to make a big difference in your retirement. There's clients that struggle to find that balance, that foundation of generational wealth for their children and ensuring their own financial worry-free retirement. That's, again, part of our job, is to what those emotional considerations of, how much is enough and what do you need? Again, there's no right or wrong answer to kind of how much you should pass on or how much wealth should be created for your family. Those are the things that we're going to talk with you about and helping you understand really the difference between rich and being wealthy. That helps to decide how much is enough for your own retirement, and then what do we do for the next generation. So when we talk about the next generation, Jarrett, that's where we go into number 4.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And, like Jeff said, there's no wrong answer there. If your goal is to leave X amount of money to your children, great. We'll certainly help you do that. If you think that, their inheritance was their college education and upbringing, perfect. You spend every dollar. We will definitely lend perspective, but we will certainly appreciate your values and goals as we do our retirement planning together. All right, so number 4, start thinking about your legacy now. What is your legacy? Was your legacy created overnight? Absolutely not. If you don't know what your legacy is, it's not too late to start thinking about it. Recent documentary about Michael Jordan on ESPN, I haven't had the opportunity to watch yet, called The Last Dance. My wife and I are looking forward to enjoying that. Michael Jordan's legacy wasn't built at Chapel Hill. It was something that he created and earned over the course of his career. So, what is your legacy? How do you approach that? What do you want it to be? As you enter into retirement, you undoubtedly will reach a point in retirement called the reorientation stage. This is a stage in your retirement where things are normal. The luster is gone of first retiring. It's business as usual, and you've oriented with retirement. This is a perfect time to really start thinking about your legacy. Is your legacy positioned to support your family and your loved ones? Is that something that you'd like to accomplish? Is your legacy to give back to the community? Has it been that you've been an extremely hard worker your whole life? Whatever it may be, it's important to bring yourself that value and understand what your legacy is. Something that we constantly say during our retirement planning meetings as we enter into retirement, another senior partner and I, Andy Smith, constantly ask clients to consider, instead of retiring from something, we encourage you to retire to something. So whether you worked for a company for 30 or 40 years, or as Jeff said, 7 or 8 companies over the course of your career, was it a great career? Did you love work? Did you, over the last few years, couldn't wait to hit the finish line? We encourage you to think about retiring to something. Make your plan, start establishing your routines, think about what you're going to be retiring to into your retirement.
Thanks, Jarrett. So I'm going to continue with my last quote from Yogi Berra. It ain't over till it's over. So number 5 is really investing in your hobbies. And as Jarrett just mentioned, by the time we get to that retirement possibility, our next phase in life is the new beginning. But we just spent 30 or 40 years in a workforce, possibly working for the same company or maybe one or two companies. And nowadays, as Jarrett mentioned, it'll be could be seven or eight companies that we work for. But, if we've been fortunate to have that career, hopefully it wasn't just a paycheck for you. It was an outlet for your creative energy. It was an outlet for you to collaborate with people, to have that connection. So as we're preparing for retirement, we're really looking at what's next. What's the next beginning? What's that new pursuit? How are we going to channel that energy that you once had while you were working, now channeling it into you? What is it you want to do? So getting the creative muscle going, whether you want to paint. So I'm going to become a painter or a writer. I've been, I love fishing. So I want to do, I want to do fly tying, or I'm going to do deep sea fishing, golf, whatever it may be, knitting, sewing, whatever those hobbies, what are going to be the things that you're trying to now change to become the ability for you to kind of create, for those creative juices that you have flowing. Again, there's no right or wrong. It's just an outlet for that energy that you have. As long as it's got to give you, and it has to, some type of similar sense of accomplishment, that fulfillment that you were getting while you were working, should be from your hobbies. We work 9 to 5. Maybe our spouse, whether our significant other or spouse, worked at home, taking care of the kids, or also had their own profession. We had that time of separation. We went to work. We had the time where we were doing our own thing. Now we're together, and that's okay. We want to spend that time together, but there's been, again, analysis that we also need that time for ourselves. You need to have that. It's natural to, again, have that. I want my alone time. I enjoy that. And some of that could be, different hobbies that you have on your own. Hopefully you have some hobbies with your spouse, but they don't always have to be the same, right? But it's that connection that you have with your community, other friends, something that keeps, again, those creative juices flowing, because now you have a new beginning outside of your work environment. So Jarrett, we've now talked about, it's what's next. So let's go to the 6th emotional consideration for retirement.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And man, I hope the yogiisms don't stop. As a Cleveland Indians fan, I can't even think of any super famous quotes any of them have said besides Albert Bell. I didn't cork the bat. But I didn't have a chance to Google any, but I do have a quote for you. And I'll get to it in a second. But so number 6, account for health and longevity. Your retirement's just around the corner. Perhaps you just entered into retirement, or maybe it's many years away. And you deserve to enjoy a nice, healthy retirement. And we certainly want you to, and we want to help you do that. We ask that you plan for a long life in retirement. We certainly, in retirement planning, we don't suggest that anyone's going to live to 75, 80 years old, although that sometimes happens. If you had a crystal ball and could tell us exactly how long you would live, it would make one of the variables in financial planning a little bit easier. So what we typically do to be conservative is we plan for a very long retirement. Make sure your money can last your entire lifetime. We use 95, 100. It's been said in medical research that the person who's going to live to be 150 years old has already been born. That blows my mind thinking about that. So plan for a long and healthy life in retirement. Second one is be active and maintain a healthy lifestyle. Something we've said before, we want you to be healthy and enjoy your retirement. So please be active. Third one, create and establish good habits. If you're like Jeff and I, you spend your day working, don't have a chance to get to the gym, obviously. So maybe we go before work, maybe we go after work. You've got kids running around the house, other responsibilities. Well, in retirement, perhaps kids are gone. Perhaps you have a little more time. We think that you should reestablish those good habits. Join Silver Sneakers. Get out to the Y. Start swimming, playing racquetball. Fourth one, invest time in creating a routine and structuring your days. We mentioned this before. And it's certainly something that helps folks in retirement when they leave a structure like work and enter into retirement. You need structure. Psychologists have suggested structure is what binds us. Our community is what binds us. So work on your structure, establish your routines. Well, here's my quote. So Robert Burns, the Scottish poet, not a yogiism, but you may have heard this quote before. The best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. So sometimes you plan to have a long and healthy retirement, successful, happy, but it doesn't always go that way. Sometimes life just doesn't go according to plan. So as financial planners, one of the things that we do is we look at different scenarios we call what if scenarios. So here are some what if scenarios that we want to explore with you to make sure that your plan is bulletproof. We want to make sure there's no holes in the boat, no water leaking in. So number one, are you prepared for a wide range of possible health concerns? Are you or your spouse genetically predispositioned to illnesses? If applicable, are you prepared to care for your spouse? Or do you have a caregiver plan in place? The fifth one, what will happen if you can no longer live in your home? So definitely not fun topics. We have them during retirement planning conversations and in financial planning meetings, but we want to make sure that your plan is bulletproof. We want you to not avoid this topic, but embrace it, think about it, discuss it, understand it. What does it look like? It's hard to place a dollar amount on a health event, but there's enough research. We can certainly help you if you want to understand how you can mitigate some of this risk, prepare for it. Perhaps you want to share some of this risk with an insurance company as you did when you were in your working career with disability insurance. There's a long-term healthcare insurance as well. So not, like I said, not a fun topic, but it's important to explore these, embrace them, understand them, discuss them. And we want you to certainly be ready.
Well, thanks, Jarrett. And just a reminder, if there are any questions, and we'll, as we recap, if there's a question that you have, please, on the bottom of your screen or on your screen, you should be able to send us a question. But, you know, as Jarrett and I today were discussing the emotional considerations of retirement, John Brown and Mark Thornburg, 2 or 3 weeks back, did the financial considerations of retirement. And there was also 6 of them. You know, today was, you know, we kind of the why 6, and you heard there's 6 emotions. Why 6 financial considerations? I guess 6 was better than 5, but no, it was really, again, they come together because this is not only as a financial advisor, as Cornerstone Wealth team, it's to look at not only what you have financially, but it's also how does it come together emotionally so you have a very comfortable retirement. And again, it's not just it's having the resources, but what are you missing? What are you missing financially, but what are you missing emotionally? And we're here to discuss, again, visions, all those things of what you want to do. But so to recap today, you know, it all starts with planning. Again, it starts, if you have a well laid out plan, stress is taken away, it's a stress relief. It allows you to overcome the times like we're in right now, or weather through it a lot better. Moving on to the second emotional consideration, living with a purpose, retiring to something, not from something, finding that purpose that you have. Going on to, you know, understanding the difference between wealthy and rich. We don't want to be a flash in the pan. We want this to be, and it's not to make your children trust babies or very, very, you know, wealthy, but it's to pass the money on that you've worked hard for to your family in a very efficient way, and to create the legacy that you may want to. Which goes into the number 4. Start to think about that legacy. What is it going to look like? What do you want it to look like? You can control it while you're living. It doesn't have to be just when you're gone. Number 5, again, investing in yourself, investing in your hobbies, having fun. This is about that you know, those golden years, you know, enjoying life and all the things you work so hard to do, the money that you saved, it's now for you to have that fun, spending it with grandchildren, traveling, playing golf, taking up new hobbies, starting a new career, welding, whatever it may be, knitting, crocheting, all those things that are cooking, you're finding those hobbies that are there that you want. And then lastly, accounting for health. We're living longer. Healthcare is getting better. It's extending our life expectancies. So spending that, not only having the accounting for health, but the longevity of your health, that you will be around a lot longer. So again, as a Cornerstone team, we're here to work on both the financial as well as the emotional sides of retirement. If you want a hard copy of the emotional considerations of retirement, there is a white paper that we've created, and you can request that white paper. You could also go to our website. We'll have it on the website. The white paper for the for the financial considerations of retirement will also be on our website. Share it with friends, family, coworkers. Spread the word. This is an important topic. It's really, again, the thing that we ultimately work towards. So we want to make it, again, financially capable, but also emotionally viable for you as you get through this time. Want to thank you all for joining us today. On behalf of the Cornerstone Wealth team, we thank you for listening. We thank you for joining us. Jarrett, thanks for leading us today. Whoop.
Looks like we have a question, actually. Sorry to interrupt you, Jeff. So we've got a few questions here. The first one is wine tasting a hobby? I would say yes. What about you, Jeff?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Eric writes, thank you for this great info. Financial considerations Zoom available to view. Yes, we will have this up on our website. Thanks very much. We'll get it out. www.cwgadvisors.com. Under the Insights tab, Ashley will have the replay and the white paper up for you to pull down and view. I had another question emailed earlier. What is the right time to purchase long-term care insurance? Jeff, you want to take that one?
Sure. I used to say usually between 55 and 65 was the time to start looking. And rates were a little bit lower when you're 55 to 60, but things have changed. Again, talking about longevity and people living longer. I know even right now with COVID-19, it's the health industry is or the insurance industry is changing because of what's happening. So with any insurance, it's really about get it when you don't need it, so it's there when you do. And especially with we don't know when we're going to need it, but the earlier you get it, you can control the cost. We don't know what could change tomorrow with our health, so it's certainly start looking at it. Sometime really, and now I would say going back to maybe as early as 50 is when you start looking at it. And again, you're part of looking at it doesn't mean you need to purchase it or you need to apply for it, knowing you may be able to self-insure. That is an option. If you choose not to self-insure, you may look to you pushing it to an insurance company or applying for a policy that will cover you for those nursing home needs. No one wants to go into a nursing home. We want to be able to take care of ourselves at home, family, but it's really about our control and dignity and independence. That's what we're doing when we look at the strategy of long-term care. It's keeping those, the integrity, dignity, and control. So you apply when you're healthy, because we just don't know what's ahead.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. All right. Doesn't look like there's any further questions. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Like I said, we will have the information up on the website on our Insights tab. So please take a look, share it with some folks that you think may benefit from it. We're happy to field any questions you have after the webinar. So shoot us an email at info@cwgadvisor.com. or Jeff and I independently, and we'll definitely be happy to get back to you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great week.